Sambazinya, clear comprehension. Clear comprehension is the subject of one short section in the Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna Sutta, the great discourse on the foundations of mindfulness, the only discourse in which a full description of Satipatthana meditation is found. In this Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna Sutta, Buddha expounded 4 foundations of mindfulness: Kaya-nupassana, contemplation on the body; Vedana-nupassana, contemplation on feelings; Citta-nupassana, contemplation on consciousness; and Dhamma-nupassana, contemplation on Dhamma objects. The first foundation, contemplation on the body, is divided into 14 sections, beginning with Anapana, mindfulness of breathing. It is followed by Iriyabhata, mindfulness of postures of the body. And that session describes Sambazinya, mindfulness with clear comprehension. Those, in short, is one of the important texts for those yogis who practice vipassana meditation. Punacha param bhikkhave bhikkhu bhikkhande patikkhande samajana kari hoti alogite vilogite samajana kari hoti samajite pasarite samajana kari hoti. Buddha said, bhikkhus, and again a bhikkhu in going forward and going backwards applies clear comprehension. In looking straight ahead and elsewhere, he applies clear comprehension. In bending and stretching his limbs, he applies clear comprehension. Etc. So the monk who is developing clear comprehension must keep his meditation unbroken throughout all activities during the waking hours. It is not easy to do, especially for the monks on Armstrong, when he is away from the tranquility of the monastery. For an unmindful meditators, there are many distractions and pitfalls along the way and in the villages and towns. To counter these difficulties, monks may undertake a voluntary vow to follow an observance that would reinforce their intention and vigilance during Pindapata, Armstrong. This observance is known as the practice of carrying meditation to the village and carrying it back to the monastery, or as carrying forth and back the subject of meditation. The commentary has described 4 kinds of bhikkhus. The first one is able to meditate only while going. The second one can meditate only on the way back. And the third one does not meditate at all. And the fourth kind fulfill the observance and reach the goal. Now we shall look at some of these steadfast bhikkhus, as well as the supporting observances and methods they adopted to accomplish their purpose. Although the commitment to undertake an observance may be made individually, it can also be made collectively by mutual agreements of bhikkhus living together in a group. An account of such a group agreement is given in the commentary, which offers a wealth of detail about this aspect of early monastic life. Men of good family, desirous of self-improvement, having become homeless once in the dispensations of the Lord Buddha, when living in a group, they made an agreement of observance with these words. "Oh, my friends, you renounce the world not because you are troubled by creditors, not because of fear of punishment from the government or the king, not because of difficulties of subsistence, but because you are desirous of liberation from this life. So restrain the kilesa, mental defilements that arises in going, just in the going. Restrain the mental defilements that arises in standing, just in the process of standing. Restrain the mental defilements that arises in sitting, just in the postures of sitting. Restrain the mental defilements that arises in lying down, just in the process of lying down. Here the agreement is to restrain or to get rid of any mental defilements in the same bodily postures in which it has arisen. The mental defilements is not allowed to linger on and continue onto the next postures. In effect, this means working on restraint of mental defilements as soon as they arise. After these monks make an agreement to follow such an observance while carrying meditation to the village and back, They go to the village for alms. As is customary, when there are many bhikkhus in one monastery, they go out for alms in a line. If mental defilements arises in the minds of a monk in the course of going, he must suppress that mental defilements while he is going, while walking. If the monk fails to do so, he cannot get rid of mental defilements while walking. What must he do? That monk stops. And when that monk stops, the monk behind him also stops. When the monk behind him stops, the monk with the defilements admonish himself. He said to himself, Bhikkhu, this monk behind you knows that an unclean thought has arisen in you. Unbecoming is that to you. So he reproved himself in this way. Then he applies himself more ardently to meditation, and with development of penetrative insight knowledge, he may then and there reach enlightenment. If he is not able to do that, if he is not able to get rid of mental defilements while stopping, then he sit down. Then the monk who comes after him also sit down. Then he admonishes himself, Bhikkhu, now the monk after you knows that an unclean thought had arisen in you. It is not befitting to you. So he admonished in this way. So he practiced meditation and he may gain enlightenment then and there. Then if he is not able to do that, if he is not able to gain enlightenment, he may stop the thoughts of mental defilements and go on to the village with meditation uppermost in his mind. When a monk cannot eliminate an arisen mental defilements while walking, he stops and tries to practice meditation in the standing postures. Awareness that another monk knows of his lapse and is delayed by it may lend urgency to his exertion. He may even reach enlightenment while standing. But the mental defilements persist, then he sits down and tries to meditate. If he does not gain an enlightenment while sitting, he may stop thinking about the mental defilements. Keeping meditation in mind, he is free to go to the village for alms. Those bhikkhus do not raise the foot with the mind lacking of the subject of meditation. These monks do not take steps without mindfulness. If they ever make a step without mindfulness, what they do? They go back and do it over again mindfully. In this way, they practice mindfulness. Not a step is taken without it. That is a way to keep mindfulness with us, with yogis, always. Yogi should not make even a single step without it. There is a practice of the monks who carry meditation to the village and back to the monastery. There are various means that have been used by monks to safeguard their meditation, their clear comprehensions of domain, Gochara Sambhasanya, while following the observance of carrying it forth and back. The commentaries gives 4 accounts of monks who use different approaches to successfully fulfill his observance and reach the goal. The first account is of Elder Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna. It is said that Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna spent 19 years practicing with mindful steps, the observance of taking meditation to the village and bringing it back. Farmers, field workers, and other people saw the Thera turning back to make a step again, and then turning back and making the step again. So those people said, hey, look, this Thera goes having stopped again and again. Why does he do? Why does he do so? Has he gotten confused about the way? Or has he forgotten something? They said. But the Thera paid no attention to their talk. He just did his duty as a monk and kept on practicing meditation. He practiced 19 years. For 19 years, he practiced mindful of his steps, and in the 20th year, he gained enlightenment and became an arahant. On the day of his attainment, the deities who lived at the end of his walking path appeared before him. The deity stood there with radiance streaming from his fingers in honor of the elder who had become an arahant. The 4 regions of the earth Brahma Sambati, and the Saga, kings of the Devas, all came to honor the Thera. And another monk, a forest dweller called Mahātesa, happened to notice the great light. Meeting Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna, the next day he asked, Bande, last night there was a radiance about your reverence. What was that radiance? The elder Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna did not want to reveal his attainment. So elder Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna said, radiance can be that of light or that of gem or that of other things. So he really didn't say anything. But on being repeatedly pressed with the words, you are concealing something, he could not deny it. So he said, yes. Then he informed Mahātesa of his enlightenment. The elder is one who, by just doing what he was supposed to do with great perseverance and patience, became an arahant worthy of honor from the gods. And the second story is about Elder Mahanagatira, who lived in the Kala Winli Mandapa, Black Creeper Pavilion. When fulfilling the observance of carrying forth and carrying back the subject of meditation, he resolved to use only two postures, standing and walking, for 7 years. This meant that he would not sit or lie down for 7 years. He made the resolution with the thoughts of honoring the bodhisattvas, 6 years, great struggle, practicing meditation and austerities in the forest before becoming the Buddha. Maybe he wanted to outdo the bodhisattva by making the resolve for 7 years, not 6 years. After completing the rigorous years of this discipline, the elder Mahanaga practiced the observance of carrying forth and back the subject of meditation for another 16 years. The commentary says he also raised his foot only with his mind yoked to the subject of meditation. If he raised his foot with his mind not thus yoked, he turned back again. That Thera also followed the practice of turning back and making the step again whenever he took a step without mindfulness. In this way, he would go to the village, but he did not enter it immediately. After standing at such distance from the village as would raise in his mind of one looking from the village the doubt, is it indeed a cow or a monk? And rubbing himself, he faced his mouth with a draught of water from the water carrier, hung over his shoulder and hanging under the armpit. Having washed his bowl with water from the same source. When the elder Mahanaga went to the village for alms, he stopped at a distance before entering. It was far enough away so that the villagers could not decide whether it was a cow or a monk standing there. Monks use brown color robes, so maybe they could be taken for cows. Standing there, he robed himself in preparation for entering the village. When monks are at the monastery, the proper attire includes bearing one shoulder. But when monks go out of the monastery and enter a village or town, they must cover both shoulders according to the rules. Then they make a roll of the robe and place it over the left shoulder. That is how the elder robed himself. Then he washed his bowl with water from the water container, slung over his shoulder. Before a monk enters a village, he must wash his bowl. That keeps it wet, so the food won't stick to the bowl. After washing it, the elder took a sip of water from the container and held it in his mouth. So for what reason? For what reason does he face his mouth with water? He does it thinking, let there be no distraction of the mind, even by uttering the words, Tika Yugo, may you live long, to devotees who come to worship and give me alms. It is a custom that whenever lay people pay respect to a monk or whenever lay people offer alms to a monk, the monk must say such thing as, may you be well, may you be happy, Sukhiyotu, or may you live long. The monk have to say. The elder Mahanaga didn't want to say even that because it would be a distraction from his meditation. In order not to say anything at all, he would hold water in his mouth. In Pali, the verb for paying respect is abhivadeti. Abhivadeti literally means to cause someone to say something. When lay people pay respect, they cause monks to say something, so abhivadeti has come to mean paying respects. But there are other occasions when a monk must answer if asked a question. During the days of the Buddha, there were no calendars. People often ask monks about the date. Months are divided into the bright half and the dark half, with 15 days in each half. So monks would say it is the fifth day of the bright half or the fifth day of the dark half and so on. Sometimes people would ask, how many monks are at your monastery? They would ask. Monks are expected to give answer. They must know what day of the month it is and how many months it is and how many monks are living at their monastery. So they must also know much more than this. For people ask questions about the Dharma and other matters. When a monk is asked such question, he must answer, even if he is a meditating monk. Otherwise, he will keep silence. So only when asked a question would the elder Mahanaga swallow the water and give an answer. Then he would take another sip in order to avoid heedless talk. If no question were asked on leaving, he would spit out the water at the village gate and go on his way. By this avoidance of unnecessary talk, he helped to maintain clear comprehensions of domain. Kochara Sambhajanya, his meditation. So he attained arahantship at the end of 23rd years of practice. And the third account in the commentaries tells of 50 monks who spent the rainy season retreat, the Vasa, at the monastery of Kalamba landing place. Monks keeps 3 rainy season months as an observant. During these months, monks are not to travel. They are not to go outside of their monastery overnight. But there is an exception. If there is an invitation to give Dhamma talk and so on, they can be away for up to 7 days, meaning 6 nights or 6 mornings. On the full moon day of July, the beginning day of the rainy season retreat observance, the 50 monks made an agreement of observance. How they made the agreement? Oh, my friends, without obtaining Ratapala Jnana, we shall not converse with one another. So that is their agreement of observant. This does not mean that they did not say anything at all. It is forbidden for monks to take a vow of total silence, which the Buddha called the vow of dumb people. Not being dumb people, monks should not act like dumb people, but they do not talk unless it is necessary with one another until attaining arahantship. Like the elder Mahanaga, these monks would enter the village for alms after filling their mouths with water. Keeping it in their mouths, they went for alms. If asked question, they will spit it out, answer, and then fill their mouths again. And on leaving the village, they would empty their mouths at the gate. People would look at the spots of water there and find out how many monks had come to the village that day. Then these people thought, what indeed is the reason that these monks neither talk with us nor with each other? If they do not speak with each other, surely they are persons who have had a dispute among themselves. Then the lay people said, come, we must make them forgive one another. So they went to the monastery in a group, but there they saw two monks in the same place. There was a wise man in the group. He said, good people, a place occupied by quarrelsome people is not like this. Now you see, the body shrine and relics shrine are well swept. They are clean and neat, and the brooms are well arranged. Water for drinking and water for washing are well set. Everything is in neat order. So this is not a place where people have quarreled amongst themselves. The wise man said. So devotees realizing at last that the monks must be observing some kinds of vow. So devotees returned to their village. And the monks of that monastery continued their observance until the end of the rainy season retreat in October, when the Pavarana ceremony is held. At this Pavarana ceremony, monks invite each other to point out whatever wrongs they might have done during the 3 months. But these monks were able to perform what is called Visuddhi Pavarana. That means pure Purana ceremony. What that means? That means that they were performing it as pure person, as arahants. For they all had become arahants during the rainy season retreat. The last account is of some monks who practice like the elder Mahanaga and the monks who observe the rainy season. Those monks raise their food only with their minds yoked to the thoughts of meditation. Having reached the neighborhood of the village, they fill their mouths with a draught of water and look at the streets. They entered the street where there were no quarrelsome drunkards, gamesters, or such folk, or where there were no restive elephants, horses, or the like. They have to look at the streets. When a monk enters a village, he must be careful. He must know that the road where he is going for alms is safe. If he sees animals or people that could be dangerous or troublesome, he must avoid that road and take another for alms round. Thus, wandering for alms, he does not go speedily like a great hurry, because there is no monk's practice in begging food speedily. A monk must look dignified. He must not go fast. He must not run when he is on Pindapat alms round. Not the word begging is used to describe monks going for alms. It may give the wrong impression to those people who do not understand the practice of monks. The word bhikkhu, meaning monk, comes from bhikkhati, to beg. It is true that bhikkhu is a person who begs, but his begging is not like that of beggars. Monks do not ask for anything. They do not say, please give me this, or please give me that, or please give me food. They do not say. But their begging is called Aryan begging, noble begging. That means Ariya Yachana. That means monks do not say anything but just stand silently in front of the house. Devotees who know the custom may come out and offer them food or other alms. When a monk is going on alms round like this, he does not go too quickly. Standing at the door of a house, he waits a little while to see if the people inside are willing to give him food. If they show any signs of unwillingness to give him anything, the monk may pass on to the next house and may receive alms there. After receiving food, he may take it to the village sitting hall where monks often eat. Or he may eat outside of the village or even back at the monastery. Monks are instructed to eat food with reflection, pichavakana. One such reflection is Niwadavaya, Namadaya, Namandanaya, Navipusanaya. I take food not for sport. I take food not for intoxication, not for adornment of my body, not for filling out some parts of the body, but for just enough to practice what the Buddha taught. So monks must make this pichavakana reflection whenever they eat. So talking while eating is discouraged. They also can practice a kind of meditation called contemplation on the loathsomeness of food. This includes contemplation on unpleasant or repulsiveness aspects associated with food. When a monk practices these kinds of meditation, he may think of the trouble of having to go to the village for alms. Nobody wants to go out in the early morning. Even a monk might want to enjoy sleeping, but monk has to go out because he wants food. That is one unpleasant aspect connected with his food. So clear comprehension and Gochara Sambhajanya. What means Gochara? Contemplations of Kaya, body, contemplations of feeling, Vedana, contemplations of Citta, consciousness, and contemplations of Dhamma. Yogi have to roam in that domain. When yogi are in the practice of contemplations of Kaya, Vedana, Citta, and Dhamma, Kilesa, Mara cannot enter. If yogis roam in domain of Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna, Kilesa, mental defilements cannot enter to yogi. So we continue next week. We have to stop our discourse for today. By practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, by noting rising, falling, sitting, touching, seeing, hearing, etc., continuously and meticulously, may all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.